Stars, Troy Dean here, and I'm here with someone who I've just met recently, Jack Bourne from Florida. Hey, Jack, how you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Awesome. I'm very well. Now, for those that don't know, thank you for joining us, by the way. What time is it where you are? It must be evening, yeah?
Yeah, it's 4 o'clock. The sun is setting, and so it's a beautiful day in Florida.
Cool. I watched the Tony Robbins documentary the other night on Netflix, I'm Not Your Guru. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I have.
Man, his house on the beach there in Florida is just bullshit, isn't it? Like,
It is.
I was just like, oh man, I would love to wake up and just look at that beautiful ocean every morning.
It is sick.
Yeah, it was very inspiring. It was an incredible documentary, by the way. If anyone watching hasn't seen it, go and check out I'm Not Your Guru, the Tony Robbins documentary. It's very, very interesting. It's fascinating.
Which, by the way, I'm convinced is just a really well done marketing piece.
Yeah. It's like a really long infomercial, isn't it? Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's good to see him. I know he's a very divisive character. We're totally off script here, by the way. I know he's a very divisive character, but I don't reckon anyone can fake authenticity like that for that long. Like I really felt like we kind of got to know a little bit about him and saw him pretty raw. And I'm kind of a new sort of, not convert, but I've just sort of recently discovered his stuff I resisted it for years, and now I've recently just kind of fallen in love with him and been reading his stuff and watched the doco it was very slick. It was a very slick production, wasn't it?
Right. Well, now you feel like you know him, like him, and trust him a little bit more. So
exactly.
Next stop, you're going to be coming to Boca Raton. Maybe we could.
That's right. Exactly, man. Date with destiny. Spot on. All right. Now, for those that don't know, who is Jack Bourne and where are you from? What's your background?
So grew up in Miami, spent most of my life there. I discovered that I used to work for Merrill Lynch. I left that around 2001 and got into a fight with my boss at the time. This is a company, not Merrill Lynch, but a different company. Got into an argument with my boss, and we both came to the conclusion at the same time I was not cut out for corporate America. So luckily at the time we didn't have any children. We now have 2 beautiful girls, but called up my wife, said, I just quit my job. She said, what you going to do? I said, I don't know. So typical entrepreneur, jump out the window of the 20-story building and build the plane before you hit the concrete. So, I could go into the long version, but the short version is that I jumped in and started building software, and I built a job board. It took me about a year to get it going, and I wasn't charging anything. And my wife finally said, look, we need to find out if this is just some silly hobby. So we hit the go button. I gave him a week to decide. I didn't realize I was doing a product launch at the time because this was before the Jeff Walker product launch thing. And so I didn't know that this is actually my first introduction to deadlines, actually. So I think I got one sale when I first said, hey, you've got to start paying. And for a week, I was convinced that I just wasted a year. And so when I started cutting off people's accounts, $20,000 came in.
Whoa.
So
now we're talking.
Yeah, so that's kind of a good introduction to launches and deadlines. It wasn't until many, many, many years later I was working with Perry Marshall as his marketing manager. I won a contest where I was competing against other people, and I became his marketing manager. And so several years into that, we wanted to create an automated evergreen funnel. And so I went out looking for software to make that happen. And there really wasn't anything that did all the things that I wanted it to do. And I tried. I really resisted the urge to build something. But there was nothing that did all the different things that I wanted. And so since I did have some programming chops, I decided, heck, I'll just build it. I'll build it for myself first to start, and then see if anyone else wants it. And so here we are, a whole bunch of marketing thought leaders are talking about it, yourself included, and people are loving it. So it gives, what it does at its core is that it gives you the ability to be 100% authentic with a deadline that is given to someone based on when they opt in for some free stuff, or it could be based on an API integration with something like a client who's already in your list gets a tag in Infusionsoft or Entreport, Active Campaign. But basically, if you think about how if you go back far enough, way back, you used to only be able to send email by loading up a list and sending a broadcast. And it was really, really challenging. And then autoresponders came out. Aweber was one of the first to do that. So if you think about the concept of queuing up a list of emails a series of emails that are going to drip out based on when someone signs up, it's all done automatic. You're leveraging marketing automation. So what if we took that concept and applied it to deadlines? So now you're forcing people to make a decision. So, but the part that makes it authentic, and I really want to go over this, the part that makes it authentic is that if someone decides, oh yeah, I've seen this before, I'll just wait and come back later, they truly are not going to be able to purchase after the deadline. So that's what makes it authentic. So even though it's automated, it is authentic. If they miss the deadline, they're out.
And I got to tell you, I'll tell you an interesting story. I had this every single time we launch. We close the doors. It's usually at midnight on a Monday. We close the doors. Tuesday and Wednesday, I spend my full day those days answering emails, telling people that they missed out, right? I'm like, we've been open for 7 days. I've sent you like 8 million emails in the last week telling you that we're open and we're going to close. And the minute we close, you decide to email me and ask me if you can join. Like, what the hell is wrong with you people, right? 40% of our sales come in the last 24 hours in our course launches. And I had this one guy email me recently, and he said, you sent me, and he spelled it out 4 times. He said, you sent me four emails today. Are you out of your freaking mind? And I emailed him back and I'm like, yeah, I know, dude. And I promise you, I'm still going to get people email me tomorrow and ask me if they can join after the doors close. It's like human behavior is just like, put it off until right at the last minute. And then you miss out and then you ask if you can still have it. So I've definitely, and I wish it wasn't the case, because sometimes I feel sometimes I feel like I'm being a bit aggressive or a bit spammy by putting the countdown timers in emails and forcing deadlines. But I just know that if you don't do that, people just aren't motivated to take action, and they just won't take action. So we've definitely seen the impact that having a deadline has made on our sales. Now, before we get into deadline funnel and start talking about this and show people what it's all about, I just want to take a little step backwards, because we were just chatting before off camera and you told me that you were the guy responsible for Aweber Pro Tools, right?
Yeah, AW Pro Tools, but yes.
AW Pro Tools. So tell me a little bit about AW Pro Tools, because I know there'll be some people watching this that remember AW Pro Tools.
Okay. So caveat, I sold off AW Pro Tools. I no longer own it, but I founded it, I grew it. And earlier this year, we sold it to an investor. So since I've been around the block, I've been in internet marketing for some time. If you go back far enough, Aweber was the only game in town. And eventually it came Infusionsoft, and now we have a whole wide array of choices. But way back then, Aweber was the deal. And so I've had an Aweber account for a long, long time. And again, because I have some programming chops, at some point I realized, there's Infusionsoft and there's Entreport, and these other companies have built out these cool marketing automation things where someone clicks a link and then they go into a sequence. Because with Aweber, if you wanted to move someone into a segmented sequence, you used to have to send them to a page where they would have to opt in again.
Yeah.
And without going into all the reasons why that's ineffective, it's just a whole lot better if someone clicks a link. If you say, hey, here's a video, like for example, WP Elevation, if you said, hey, here's a great video on how to, or a blueprint, a downloadable blueprint for how to do your first client meeting. And so I clicked that, I'm interested, but behind the scenes, I'm sent into a sequence. So Aweber didn't have that. So I decided maybe I could build it. So they had what's called an API, which means that you can connect to it. And so I built AW Pro Tools, and with the help of my good friend, Andre Chaperon, brought it out into the world. He was the first to announce it to his group, and a whole bunch of people signed up, and we were off and running. So that was the story behind AW Pro Tools.
So I'm curious, I was introduced to AW Pro Tools by Jeff Walker. I was in one of his trainings years and years and years ago, and he was mentioning it. I'm curious how you got your product into the hands of that. Is it just by nature of the geography that you're stateside, that you kind of were hanging out with those people? But it seemed like, and you've done the same with Deadline Funnel, it seems like you're very good at getting your products into the hands of influential people.
Yeah. So to do that, I think you need 2 ingredients. Number one, I've been connecting with people for a long, long time with just really really nothing to sell. I mean, because for a while I didn't have a product to sell. I didn't have a course. I didn't have a software. But I was working with Perry Marshall, and I was going to conferences. I was giving talks. And so I was meeting people. And so you just have an authentic, genuine connection. So those connections were begun. And there's 6 degrees of separation in a tight industry like this. There's probably 3 degrees of separation. Everyone knows everyone. And so then the second component is having what Seth Godin calls the purple cow. So having something that truly is unique. I would say a year and a half after I launched AW Pro Tools, there was someone who came out with, and it was literally a replica. I mean, you could tell that they had signed up and they hired a team to create the exact same thing. And I would come out with a feature, and then 2 months later they would come out with a feature. And I have no idea how they're doing with that product, but I'm sure it was a lot more challenging for them to make waves with it, because ours was the first. And so when you create something that truly is unique, that solves a real problem, what some of my friends call a bleeding neck, if you solve a real problem, it's a lot easier for people to talk about it. With Deadline Funnel, I've had I was fortunate that some influencers came across it. David Siteman Garland was one of the first people of Rise to the Top, was one of the first people to start using it. And he was involved in masterminds, and he is super enthusiastic. He's like full of energy. And I can just see him telling bunches of his friends and compadres and in his masterminds, and it kind of spread from there. Then there's been outreach that I've done purposefully to do JV or affiliate promotions. I reached out to you. I didn't know you. I was lurking on your list for some time. I actually ran across you from a great blog post that you wrote and asked you a question. So then I was on your list, and I saw that you were launching Rockstar Empires. I thought, what the heck? I'll just send an email. What do I have to lose? So so we connected that way. So it's really just, it's having something that solves a really urgent problem, and then already having connections, and then reaching out and getting other people to reach out for you.
Yeah. And I think there's something to be learned there for all of us kids. Hear what Jack just said. He found me because he read a blog post that I wrote and left a comment on it. And I remember that blog post, and that was our first connection. And then when Jack saw that we were launching Rockstar Empires, he reached out and said, hey, let's have a chat about Deadline Funnel. So there you go. Content marketing actually works. All right. Hey, let's dive in, and let's get you to share your screen, and let's tell everyone what Deadline Funnel is all about and how it works, and why. And while you're bringing up your screen, maybe you can tell us why is this the thing that gets you out of bed every morning?
Whether it was AW Pro Tools or I also own several other softwares, but one of the things that I do, I'm going to be coming out with courses, but whether it's a course or whether it's software, nothing feels better than to meet someone, and when they realize that I'm the guy behind either AW Pro Tools or Deadline Funnel, they say, man, you changed my life, or you changed my business. You're like, thank you so much, or your stuff is so cool. For me, that is really, really exciting. The day-to-day work, sometimes, some days are easier than others, but I just came back from a mastermind event that I was invited to speak at, and in South Carolina, and I met a whole bunch of new friends who were just thrilled to meet me. And it was just exciting to see the impact that my work has in the world. So that's really what excites me, is knowing that I'm helping other business owners and entrepreneurs.
Awesome. I hear you loud and clear. All right, let's take it away. Let's introduce Deadline Funnel. Yeah.
So I'm not going to keynote you guys to death, but I do want to just lay the quick groundwork. So I'm going to go through some of these keynote slides really quick. And then what I want to do is dive into some actual how-to, some nitty-gritty. Deadline Funnel works with a whole array of different types of email software providers, CRMs, website builders, landing page builders, and the screenshot, the list that you see on the screen is only a partial list. This needs to be updated. But my point in showing you this is that we can't show all of these, right? It would take us several days. But we have documentation for all of this. We also have live help, live chat, and lots of documentation. So if if what we show you, if the tools that we're using in this demonstration aren't your tools, I want you to understand very clearly that we will help you. So we have, when you sign up, we offer a free 15-minute onboarding call, which is not a disguised sales call. It's truly an onboarding call to try to make sure that whatever questions you have about it, that we can help you answer that. So one of the things I want to point out, and I want to bring up a drawing tool, is that probably most of you are familiar with launches in the sense that they're very, very high conversion. So if you look over here, we've got high conversion. So this square up here is higher converting than anything that's down here. And then on the bottom, we've got from manual labor to automated. So a launch takes a lot of work to put together. Some people, depending on how big the launch is, it can take several months to pull it off. There's also shorter versions that you could do, but it takes some work to pull off, and it involves a lot of your time. But the payoff is that it has very, very high conversions. So usually what people do is after their launch, they will downshift into either just having it closed and you can't buy it, or they'll downshift into a sales page. And the way that we started our conversation, Troy, is that you were talking about how the deadline, forcing people to make a decision, increases conversions tremendously. If you didn't, all those people who email you after the cart closes, and even the people who bought at the very, very end, the 40% who purchased, if you didn't have that deadline, they would just put it off. Yeah, I'll do that one day. And so the sales page option has a very, very, very low conversion rate, but it has the advantage of being very, very automated. You put it up and sales come in 365 days out of the year, or at least have the potential of doing that. And just like you were talking about, Troy, this is an image that's on a very popular website, another great content marketing blog called Video Fruit. And this image shows that with a typical launch, you have that big first day and a big last day. Now, you said that 40% of your sales come in the last day. I've seen many, for me, it's more common to see even more sales come in the last day than come in on the opening day. So actually, come to think of it, if we added up all those tiny little squares, then even though the last day is bigger than the first day, that's probably accurate, depending on how long launch is, because you have sales coming in all along. The two biggest days are the first day and the last day.
Absolutely, man. I said to my wife this last launch, I said, I love the first day of launch because it's such a rush. You get a whole bunch of students joining your course. And I love the last day because it's so exciting. It's like the 5 or 6 days in between. I just hate those days. I don't know what to do with myself, man, because nothing's happening and you can't change anything. You just have to sit there and wait for the deadline.
Yeah. Actually, I'll after we're done here, I'll give you an idea that you can
Thanks.
use a little spike in the middle. But this is another image from Video Fruit. And so this shows that the last day just generates all of these huge sales. And here's a screenshot of Perry Marshall's account. I've blotted out the details. But we did, one of the last promotions I did for him, let's see here, $40,000 of the $50,000 in sales came in on the very last day. Leading up to that last day, we thought that this was going to be a turkey. And 40 grand of the 50 grand for that promotion came in on the very last day. So you've seen it, I've seen it. I mean, anyone who's done a launch knows that the first day is big, but definitely the last day is really huge as well, because you force people to make a decision. And without that, you're going to miss out on those sales. However, the downside of doing launch is that you have this hamster wheel, or sometimes what I call the revenue roller coaster, where you've got high highs and low lows. And so one of the reasons why I created Deadline Funnel was I thought, well, what if we could take all the best parts of a launch, and without sacrificing our trust with our audience, without sacrificing our integrity, what if we could get all the automation of something closer to a sales page? So we get high automation, but also very high conversion. Now, let me just pause and say that you can do both. You don't have to choose one or the other. You can have multiple launches during the year, and you can have a more effective either rolling launch or evergreen funnel. There's really two names for the same thing. And so you can have that during the rest of the year. But the key thing is to have a deadline. A launch without a deadline really isn't going to be a launch. So let's apply a deadline to your automated systems as well. One of my first case studies, and I have lots of case studies of clients that have done really well by doing this, is a guy by the name of Nick Stephenson. And you can read his story on our blog if you'd like to know more. But basically, he went from a process where he would do a launch, say 2 times a year, to doing sort of an automated quickie launch every month. And he was doing well with that. He was getting 6.5% conversion, as you see in the bottom right-hand corner. But when he thought to himself, well, what if I could have people where they come in on Monday and it's closing on Sunday, someone's coming in on Tuesday and it's closing next Monday. So it just rolls all the time. So that, because what was happening, he had this theory that he would sign people up, and in the weeks leading up to his next launch, even though he was doing it, either once a month or several times a month, people would get cold. His list would go find other things to buy because they were ready to buy right now. So when he implemented this concept, his conversion rate went from 6.5% to 9%, which is a huge, huge increase. That's like, I think it's 38% increase in sales. And so basically, just like I said, if you look at if you look at what's going on here, like the simple version is, if they come in on Monday, it doesn't have to be Friday, but just, if we just pick a time period, if their deadline is Friday, Tuesday's deadline is Saturday, et cetera, et cetera. And so what happens is those green areas are where you have a group of people have their deadline. So once you get this going, it doesn't take too long before every single day of the year, there's a group of people where their deadline is that day.
Perfect.
And there's more advanced versions of this that you can do. You can set it up where you only want to start the campaign like on a Tuesday. So you can time it if you're using things like Infusionsoft or Entreport, Active Campaign, Drip, et cetera. But the simple version is that you can set this up so that based on when they enter this automated sequence, they're given a deadline, and the deadline is real, genuine, and authentic. So the basic version of what Nick did is that if you're familiar with the Jeff Walker PLF concept, there's 3 bonding and training videos. And so someone would opt in, they would get a series of 3 videos, and then he would transition into the offer and then have a deadline. You mentioned something, Troy, that I want to bring up. I think you said that someone was complaining about you sending 4 emails on the last day. I highly recommend, I always recommend that if someone is only sending 1 email on that last day, you got to send 2. And if you've been told at some point you never send more than 1 email a day, this is where you break that rule. Because if you send 2 or 3 or 4 emails, you will make more money on that last day. So you need to push outside that comfort zone and test it out for yourself. But I think you're going to find see higher conversions.
And you will annoy some people. And, it's like the tone that we use in our emails is always very friendly. It is like pretty assertive though. It's like, we're closing today. I'm just letting you know, like I actually put the countdown timer that you're going to show in a minute in the emails. And I went, I know some of you hate these countdown timers, but let me tell you why I'm using it. Because every time we close a sale, I get a bunch of emails from people afterwards wanting to join up. So I just want to be completely transparent. We're closing and the countdown timer was ticking. And, a couple of people email you and go, man, you're emailing me too much. And I'm like, that's okay, man. There's an unsubscribe link at the bottom of the email. Feel free to take yourself off the list. I won't be offended.
Right. So one of the things I want to point out is that you mentioned that you can put the countdown timer in the email. So that's one place you can put it. Another place is all of the sales pages or even the video pages. You can put it there. And depending on what type of checkout process you have, you can put it on the order form as well. So you can just keep it consistent.
100%.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what we did. Yep.
And another thing that is a cool feature, I hope that we have the opportunity to show this, but one of the things that I thought of was, well, what if on all of these pages, all these video pages, it's not really the right time on day 1 or day 2 to be showing the countdown timer. And so what I built into it is the ability for you to say, okay, even though on this page and this page and this page, the countdown timer is there, let's not show it until the last 48 hours or 72 hours or 24 hours of the launch.
Neat.
So right around the time that you're talking about the deadlines coming up, all those pages, magically the countdown timer shows up.
I didn't know that. There you go. I learned something. I did not know that.
Yeah. There's some other cool things. So another cool thing I'll mention just as we're talking about cool stuff you can do. So if someone who is in the middle, let's say they're in day 3 or 4 of your sequence, and they're excited, they want to share this special promotion page, maybe there's bonuses and discounts on this special page, and they share it with a friend, what you have the option of doing, it's off by default, but you can turn it on, is that you could actually say, okay, this person who was referred, I'm going to draw a little stick person here, this person who was referred by the first person, because Deadline Funnel sees that there's no tracking for this person, let's take them over to the opt-in form where you say, hey, here's some great free content. It's the same place where the first person might have started. So it's a way to take people into the top of the funnel and have them go through your sequence in the right order.
That's neat. That's very neat.
All right, so let me go ahead and jump in. So before we begin, some of the things so here's what we're going to be using today. We're going to be using a combination of WordPress, MailChimp, ClickFunnels, and of course, Deadline Funnel. Now, again, I just want to back up and mention that if you use different tools, if you say, well, hey, I use Lead Pages and I use ActiveCampaign, okay, we have to show something, so we're going to show this combination. But whatever combination of tools you use, you're going to get a lot out of the concept. So stick with the concept and the specific how-to, where do I put this code, how do I do this? That is stuff that is covered in our support area, and we're happy to also walk you through it.
Yeah, and I'm going to say the support inside Deadline Funnel is awesome. It's so easy to follow, and specific support for each tool that you're using. So there's no problem there. Good.
I love hearing that.
Yeah, I was very impressed.
I will mention one thing though. We have live chat. So we're stateside. So if you're in the same part of the world where Troy is, just understand that in the middle of your day, it's 1 a.m. our time. So it may take us a few hours to respond to that. So we're going to start with, so we're going to assume that everyone is coming through an opt-in form. They could already, if you're doing an evergreen promotion where people are already on your list, we certainly can accommodate that. That's one of the things that Deadline Funnel really excels at. But for this example, we're going to start with an opt-in form. And then we want to have an opt-in form URL, and we want to have a special deal page. This could be discounts and bonuses, or just discounts, however you want it. But you have basically a clone of your buy it every day price with some special stuff thrown in so that you can have a deadline, so that after the deadline it's no longer available at that price. And then we want a third page, which is either your regular price, or some people want to only give a specific window of time and then send them to a sorry you missed it page. So whichever one of those, basically it's the page that someone's going to go to after the deadline has passed. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to skip this schematic, but I can send this to everyone later. But cool. This is basically what we're going to build. We're going to start with an opt-in form integration, and we're going to set up, so as soon as someone opts in, their deadline is going to be set. So when they opt in, so you send traffic to this opt-in form. So as soon as they opt in, their deadline is set. So what will happen is, even if they don't click the links in your email until the last email, Deadline Funnel is going to know, oh, this guy opted in 4 days ago, so he's only got a few hours left. So Deadline Funnel figures out that part of it for you and keeps everything authentic. It also solves another problem that I'll mention real quickly, which is if you have folks who start on their desktop but then go to their mobile phone, it will track across multiple different devices. So when they click the link in their email, if they happen to be at a coffee shop and they're reading your last email and it says today's the last day, when they click the link in the email, they're going to go to a page that has the correct countdown time. So is that just all tracked off the unique ID in the CRM that you're using? Yeah, so in the links that you use in the emails, there's a unique identifier. It's actually their email address, which is the unique identifier, so that we can know, okay, this person, based on this email, this person opted in 4 days ago. So Deadline Funnel uses multiple different ways to track people so that the tracking is accurate across multiple different devices.
Perfect. I'll get you to send me a screenshot of your Lucid Chart schematic later on.
Yeah.
and I'll share that with the group as well.
Okay, perfect. So let me make sure that I'm logged in right here. So here's the admin. So what we're going to do is I'm going to quickly go through and create an evergreen countdown. Now, you see that the first option is a product launch. Now, I will mention that even though we're going to be talking about doing the evergreen version, one of the nice things about setting up deadline funnel for a product launch is that, so over here in the States, I'm on the East Coast. Typically, we like to set our deadline on the West Coast. So that's 3 hours behind.
Yep.
So I don't want to be up at 3 a.m. turning off the pages and stuff like that. So one of the nice things about the product launch is it's set it and forget it. So even though it's not evergreen, it's a useful way for you to make sure that when you say it closes at a certain time, it actually does close.
We use that this time around. Yep.
Perfect. So let's go ahead and click on evergreen. And so there's a couple different ways that we could start tracking. By the way, is the screen big enough, Troy?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
okay.
Perfect.
Okay. So the first option is the one we're going to use. So the deadline will start when someone opts into my email list. But I'll just go through some of the other options that you have. So the deadline will start based on a webhook in my email provider. We probably need to change that language a little bit, but basically that means that if you're using a system like ActiveCampaign, Infusionsoft, Entreport, Drip, something like that, and you wanted to send someone into an automated sequence based on they get a tag in their record. Then behind the scenes, you can set up your email system to talk to deadline funnel, and again, everything will be all synced up. So that's really, really cool. It's mostly for when people are already on your list.
Yep. So that webhook needs to be something like this. The deadline will start based on a click or tag activity in my email provider.
Right. Absolutely.
Yep. Perfect.
Yep. Or the deadline will start when someone visits a page. So that's another way to set it up. So if you said, look, Jack, I'm just sending Facebook traffic to a page and they're not opting in. I just want to have a countdown timer on the page. Or I want to have a countdown timer after they click through to the second page. Then you could still use that. Or when someone clicks on a link. So there's a couple different options, but we're going to choose when someone opts into my list. So the next page says, okay, tell us a little bit more. And it looks a little overwhelming, but there's a reason why we do this, because when we gather these simple questions up front, which you can change these later in the admin, but what we do is we actually create a very simple sort of, if you think about, it's a recipe. So step by step, specific to the landing page builder software that you use, specific to the software, email software that you use, we're gonna build out an ingredient list that if you want, especially the first time, you can go down the list and just check the box. Yes, I did this. Yes, I did that. So let's call this Rockstar Empires demo. And what product are you promoting? So I've created a product called New Course.
Cool.
So I'll just use that. So so you can change this to be 4, 3. I mean, you can change it to whatever number you want, but you're choosing how many days after someone opts into the funnel. You also have the option of doing hours or minutes. So if you wanted to have a page where 15 minutes after they hit the page, so you've got a 15-minute countdown timer on an upsell, you could do that here. But let's just leave it as 4 days. And we're going to set the deadline at 11:59 p.m. And we're going to I'll choose US Pacific. Okay, so all of the popular time zones are here. And if you want a more obscure time zone, we have all of them listed below.
Cool.
Okay, so this is where, if we go back to the list of things that I said we need to have, so we're going to start to fill in the URLs for the opt-in page, the special deal page, and then the after page. So let me go over to ClickFunnels, and I've got a very simple demo funnel set up where you have an opt-in, a thank you page for the opt-in, a sales page, and then a full price page. So let me just go ahead, and what I'll do is I'll click this to open that in a new tab. This will be our opt-in URL, and this is our sales page. So I'm just going to open that into a new tab. So notice up here that it says special price. That's how you know in this demo that this is the special deal page.
Got it.
And the full price one, I'm just going to open up in its own tab. Notice that this says full price page. So they look the same, but one's special price and one's full price.
Yep.
Okay. So once we've got that, so what is your main sales page URL? So that's going to be the special price page. So all I do is I grab the URL. So I just copy this. and I go over and I'm just going to put it right there. All right, and what am I using? We have some very popular landing page builders, but if you are using a different one, go ahead and just enter in the information there. So we're going to use ClickFunnels. Okay, so where will people be redirected if they miss the deadline? So this is going to be that full price page. So I'll just copy this URL and put it right there. All right, what email provider? Let's choose MailChimp. Okay, as you can see from the list, we cover lots and lots of them.
Yeah.
And by the way, if yours isn't there, we can still make it work. And what is your opt-in page URL? So that's the last one that we have. So we're just going to copy this and paste it over here. And what are we using? We're using ClickFunnels. All right, so we'll save and go to the last step. So we're done with the setup in terms of creating it in Deadline Funnel. So what we'll do is we'll copy this code. So no matter this code that you see right here is code that you would use on any page where you want Deadline Funnel to do something. So I'll show you a trick. It's covered in our documentation. But if you're using ClickFunnels, a really handy way to get this into your funnel is the following. In the top right-hand corner, so you could add it page by page. But rather than doing that, we could just add this. We could just click on settings. And then right here where it says body tracking code, we can just paste this in here. And now it's going to be automatically added to every page of the funnel.
Yeah.
Now, just to be clear, even though it's being added to every page in the funnel, Deadline Funnel won't show a countdown until you tell it to. And I'll show you how we do that in just a little bit. So now that we're done, I need to move this so I can see. So we click the finish button. And now we're going to be taken to a page where we have that recipe. So notice how we've got a setup, and the first tab is the quick start guide. So the first time through, we've just done it. We try to make it as simple as possible to personalize the training to exactly the tools that you're using.
I love this. It's so neat, man. I was blown away when I saw this the first time.
Cool.
Because it feels like the software is a consultant, and it's like sitting next to me going, now you just put the code in ClickFunnels because that's what you told me you use. And here's an explanation on how to do it in ClickFunnels. And I'm like, really? That's pretty smart.
Cool. Well, I'm very happy to have that feedback. Okay, so as we're not testing the software is not verifying it. You just go through the steps, and then when you feel like it, you can click complete, and you can see how far along you come. But we've already added the code to ClickFunnels. Now there's another step which I'll show in just a bit, where we're going to add it to the funnel steps. But all of these links link out over to our documentation site. We've got documentation that is a combination of pictures and text and sometimes video. So it's very, very easy to use. And the search field is very user-friendly. It does a very good job at finding what you want. So what we're going to do, let's go ahead and set up the opt-in page. So what I mean by that is, remember, we've got the Deadline Funnel code set up on all these pages, but we need to tell Deadline Funnel what we want it to do. And the controls for Zoom keep popping down, so let me see if I can move my screen. Okay, so what we're going to do, let's bring this up. Okay, so we're going to go to the opt-in page. So here's the opt-in page URL. So I'm going to just copy this URL. And what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the funnel steps. Now, actually, this step was already done for us. So notice that these two steps were already created. We're going to create an additional one in just a bit. But in the setup, not only did we personalize the documentation, but we went ahead and set up the first two steps for you. So, so the code for the opt-in form is already set up here. So what that means is that Deadline Funnel now knows, okay, you told us what the opt-in form page is, so we're going to put in the code that will automatically start the tracking for someone when they opt in. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Let me move this down. All right, so I just want to make sure that my tracking has been cleared. So there's no tracking for me right now. So what that means is that I can go into Deadline Funnel and see, okay, what does Deadline Funnel think that my deadline is? That's what the testing tab is for. It just makes it really handy. So right now there's no tracking. I haven't interacted with the system at all. So let's go over to my opt-in page. Now, sometimes with, I'll just make this little caveat, sometimes with ClickFunnels, it takes a while for their pages to update. So
yeah, they have a pretty aggressive cache.
So if it doesn't work the first time, it's probably because ClickFunnels hasn't updated yet. Let's go ahead and just fill this out. So I've got my name and my email address in there, and I'll go ahead to click, and I've gone through. So what should happen is that Deadline Funnel will start the tracking. So let's go ahead and click on the tracking details, and there we go. So so all I did was I opted in, and I know that because you're new, this is the first time you've seen this, so you don't really know what you're looking at. So let me just explain. What you're looking at is, this is a way, again, for Deadline Funnel to show you, did something happen? So in other words, it answers the question, did my opt-in form work? Mm-hmm. And this is a way for you to see, yes, it did work. In fact, we detect that your email is this. Mm-hmm. So that was detected in the opt-in form. And this is your deadline that's going to show. And you can see the time zone that it's set for. So I'm sorry, the time zone when the cookie was set. Mm-hmm. So it shows you how much time is left until that deadline. So what we've done is, and it was very, very quick, I've taken time to talk you through it. It's much faster when you're setting this up without having to listen to me, but the opt-in form is already tracking. So what this means is that when someone comes in and they opt in for your lead magnet, their deadline has already been set. Mm-hmm. Even if you're not showing the countdown to them maybe 5 days later, their countdown has already been set. We're tracking them in multiple different ways. So now what we want to do is, if we go back to this funnel steps area, the other page where we have Deadline Funnel set up to do something is this URL for the discount page. So let me go. Let's go see what we have here. It's set up as a floating bar. So hopefully this is set up to show the floating bar. Okay.
Woohoo!
Okay. So it's automatically set up. Now, what we can do is, under appearance, we can very easily change what the countdown looks like, and you've got a whole bunch of different types of customizations you can choose.
But why would you change it? Because it looks gorgeous out of the box, Jack.
Well,
I didn't change it. I saw it out of the box and went, I don't need to change that. It's perfect. It's black and white and red. They're our colors.
Okay, there you go. Well, if you're not using those colors, what you could do is, let's see here. Let's choose something like that. So maybe something blue. I mean, that's not super attractive. Let's just say that you wanted.
It's 1997 all over again, isn't it? Eh?
That's right. That's right. But I just want to demonstrate that you could very easily change this. Now, what I want to show you is that out of the box, Deadline Funnel sets up your sales page based on the information that you added in. It sets it up as a floating bar. However, you can instead set it up as being inline. So in other words, you can set it up showing up in the middle of the page. So let me show you how you would do that. And you can have the countdown timer on the page as many places as you want. So let's go over in ClickFunnels to the sales page. So what we can do is, let's click to edit the page. And so our page editor for ClickFunnels is going to come up. All right, so under the funnel steps area, instead of a floating bar, let's change this to an inline countdown, which means that it's going to be in the middle of the page wherever you want it to be. So we're going to save that. And it says, hey, just copy and paste this code wherever you want that countdown to show up.
Yeah.
So what we can do is this the editor? No, it's not. This is the editor. Okay. So inside of ClickFunnels, you can add what's called, let me just see if I can add something here. So you can go down and find custom JavaScript HTML, and you can click to add that to the page. And when you do, you get something that looks like this. And you can just simply add that over there. And wherever you add that in the page, you're going to have a countdown timer. So for example, if I were to duplicate this, and let's say I want to move this up here, and now we can save it. we should have 2 countdown timers on the page. Now, again, understand that ClickFunnels doesn't, sometimes takes a few minutes or a few seconds to update the page.
Yep.
So yeah, they haven't updated their cache yet, but we'll come back in just a second and you'll be able to see that the countdown timers are on the page, but it just takes a little bit for ClickFunnels.
Cool. So that's the special sale price. You want to just go and preview the special sale price in the browser? Because I think you were looking at the full price there.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Thank you for that catch.
That's all right. No worries. That should be the one there.
Okay.
There we go. Look at that. Beautiful.
There we go. So
if that's not going to motivate you to take action, I don't know what will.
Right. So
awesome.
So what will happen is after the deadline, someone will be automatically redirected to the full price page, even if they leave it open in their browser, which I know is a trick that people like to do.
Yeah, right. So just to be clear, because when we set up the deadline funnel, we told deadline funnel what the URL was for the full price sale page, right? So as soon as that countdown reaches 0, it's automatically going to redirect the user to the full sale price page and take the discount away from them.
Correct.
There we go.
Okay, so I'll show, if we have time, I'll show one. So actually, let me just ask you, Troy, I know that we're short on time. Would you like me to show WordPress, or do you want me, or because I think what we need to do is we need to cover WordPress and MailChimp.
Yeah, so WordPress is a bit of a, most of our audience, I think, would know WordPress. So, and WordPress is, if I'm not mistaken, would just be a matter of putting that div code in the WordPress page editor, or do you have like a WordPress plugin that integrates?
Real quick, I'll just mention that, first of all, we have documentation of what I'm about to show, but you can actually download our WordPress plugin.
Perfect.
And so you use the API key, which, let me show you real quick. The API key is right here.
Perfect.
And then once you do the plugin, put in the API key in the settings, you just use this short code wherever you want the countdown to show up.
Beautiful. Perfect. Perfect. So we've got a few minutes left. Do you want to show us MailChimp? So, because I think a lot of people have been struggling with getting these countdown timers to show up in emails.
Okay. Okay. So, so there's one of the things that you can do is you can do an API integration with MailChimp. It's a little bit more advanced, probably outside the scope of this. Let me just show you, like Troy was saying, how to add the countdown timer into MailChimp. So let me see here. I'm not as familiar with MailChimp. Let me go back to preview and task, enter preview and save and exit. Hold on one second. All right, let's create a campaign. I think what I want to do is a regular campaign.
Yep.
All right, entire list, next. Rockstar demo. Blah, 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 blah. I'm just trying to get to the point where we have an email.
Yep.
All right, so let's just do that.
Yeah, so that's going to preview.
So
that. Perfect.
Next. Oops, I think I clicked next too soon. Back. Okay. All right, here we are. I think we're at the point where we can.
Yeah, this is the editor. Beautiful.
Okay. All right. So what you want to do is you want to choose the code block, right?
Uh-huh.
And from there we can add in our own custom code right here where I've highlighted. So back over in the deadline funnel admin under email setup. Again, we've personalized everything to your email. So because we've chosen MailChimp, look at that. We've put the correct email code into
merge field code. I noticed that we use Infusionsoft, and I noticed that the merge field code was the exact correct syntax for merging the email address in from Infusionsoft.
We try to serve it up on a silver platter. So
I like it a lot.
So what we're going to do is, all I did was I grabbed this code. So for MailChimp, you use the HTML code. And what we're going to do is we're going to go over here and we're just going to paste this in. All right, so even before I save it, you see that we've got the countdown timer going. Now, here's the thing. When you send this out, this is going to be personalized to each person based on when they opted in. It's going to be also personalized based on when they open the email. So Deadline Funnel is going to calculate how many days, hours, minutes, and seconds are left and show them that animated countdown. And if you don't like the black countdown timer, what you can do is under appearance, you can very easily change it.
The email timer, yeah,
to whatever version you want. So if you want it,
Yeah.
we just added recently the circular countdown.
Yeah,
So,
which is gorgeous. The circular countdown's great, and we use the big expired thing for the big expired stamp for after. Yeah, we use that one for once it's expired. I think that pissed a few people off actually.
but hey, but now they know next time.
What can I say?
All right. So anyways, that's how you add the countdown timer in the MailChimp. So there's a whole lot of things that we didn't cover, but real quick, I just want to show you that over in the advanced settings area, earlier on we talked about, where is it? We talked about the ability to delay showing the countdown. So this is where you would go in and say, okay, I don't want to show anything until there's 48 hours left for this prospect. And then you would click save. And until there's 48 hours left, or 24 or 36, it's actually not going to show on the page. So the floating bars won't show up. The countdown timers won't show up.
The inline countdown timers won't show up in the custom. Oh man, that's beautiful. We didn't use that. Okay.
All right.
Hey man, this has been, and I'm sorry we're out of time. I could sit here and do this for another hour because it's epic. It gives you so much granular control over authentic deadlines. I want to thank you, A, for creating awesome software, B, for reaching out to me and introducing yourself because, not many people do that. So thanks for reaching out. And C, thank you for spending some time with us explaining why Deadline Funnel is what you do and how it works. I'm going to pop a link under this video so you can go and check out Deadline Funnel, go and say hi to Jack, sign up, and start using authentic countdown timers in your funnels to increase conversions and increase more sales. Jack Bourne, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Cheers.